spar with him. I guarantee you can spar with him. And then just touch your face, just to let you know, like you would have been knocked out, but I just touched your face. Just gonna touch you a little bit. Move around. You can't touch me. I touch you. Here's a feint, and it's coming at you. And if he's kicking, you're fucked. But even if he's just using his hands, if you're like some streamer, he wouldn't hurt you. But Sean Strickland's a different animal. Sean Strickland has, he's got this fucking man code, and he believes in it. Like, you got to get your ass kicked every now and then. He spars all the time, spars constantly. And if you agree to get in there with him, you're essentially agreeing to let him beat the fuck out of you, because you don't really have a chance. Like, you have no chance. But in Sean's defense, when he lost to Alex Pereira, one of the first things he did was go to Connecticut to Glover Teixeira's gym where Alex trains and train with him. When he was training with Alex Pereira, he was light sparring. So this is fucking light. Find the video of Sean Strickland training with Alex Pereira, because he's smart. Because you can't, that guy's not sneako. You can't just tool off. That guy already knocked you out. Like, Pereira knocked him out in the first round. He hit him with a left hook and then
Hold on to your gloves, because Jake Paul just dropped a bombshell that has the entire combat sports world shook hand. Joe Rogan is straight up losing it. Forget about his social media drama or his cringe-worthy YouTube days. This time, Jake Paul did the unthinkable. He knocked out a heavyweight boxer in sparring. Yes, you read that right. A heavyweight, and the best part, Joe Rogan, the king of "I can't believe this is happening" reactions, couldn't hold it together. The man who's seen it all lolls, sitting there, jaw on the floor, as Jake Paul proves everyone wrong once again. It's like watching a reality star knock out a professional athlete on live TV. Impossible, but somehow it just happened. The internet exploded. Fans and haters alike had to pick their jaws up off the floor. Is Jake Paul secretly a boxing prodigy? Or is this just another fluke? Was it luck? Skill? A punch that should have never landed? You're about to get the full breakdown of the knockout that no one saw coming. This isn't just drama. It's a shakeup that makes the Kardashians' latest saga look like a Sunday afternoon stroll. Buckle up, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. The moment Jake Paul knocked out a heavyweight in sparring, the entire world of combat sports did a collective double-take. The reaction wasn't just shock. It was disbelief. A YouTube sensation, known for being everything except a real boxer, had just done what even seasoned professionals might struggle to pull off in the gym: a knockout on a heavyweight. Now, before you go jumping to conclusions, let's rewind and set the stage. Jake Paul's journey from viral YouTube sensation to serious boxer has been the subject of endless debate. Critics have called him a joke, a clout chaser, and a punching bag for the real fighters in the industry. But Jake, he kept showing up, he kept training, and he kept winning, albeit in controversial ways. But this wasn't just a lucky punch. This was a statement. When news of the sparring match first hit social media, everyone thought it was a prank. Jake Paul knocking out a heavyweight. How could that even be possible? Heavyweights are the giants of the sport. Those are the guys who make boxers look like ants. So, naturally, the immediate reaction from fans and the internet was to call it a fluke, to dismiss it as some overhyped clip that wasn't showing the full context. That's when Joe Rogan's reaction started making waves. Rogan, a man who's seen everything in the combat sports world, was shocked. He wasn't just surprised, he was stunned. Imagine the person who's interviewed UFC legends, boxing champions, and some of the best in combat sports having his jaw hit the floor over. Jake Paul. This wasn't the typical Rogan, interesting, or that's crazy reaction. No, this was full-blown disbelief. The man didn't hold back. He was practically screaming in shock at how Jake had pulled off the unthinkable. Jake Paul knocked out a heavyweight. Rogan couldn't believe it, and the entire world was watching him process this revelation live. Here was a man who's interviewed some of the hardest, most battle-hardened athletes on the planet, and he couldn't even fathom what he was seeing. The shock in his voice was palpable. making this moment even bigger than it already was. The internet, as it always does, ate it up. Memes, reaction videos, and comments flooded in from every corner of social media. Did Jake Paul just knock out a heavyweight in sparring? Was the question everyone was asking, and nobody knew what to make of it. Some called it a fluke. Others pointed to Jake's rapid improvement. And a few started to wonder if this YouTuber turned boxer was more than just a gimmick after all. And let's not forget the controversy around Jake's entire boxing career. The man has been fighting a public relations war with every victory. The haters and even some neutral fans have been endlessly dismissing him, chalking up his wins as lucky punches or fights against bums. But now, after knocking out a heavyweight in sparring, those same people had to rethink everything. Was it luck? Or had Jake Paul really evolved into a legitimate force in boxing? Rogan's reaction was the perfect encapsulation of the entire situation. Here's a man who has interviewed actual legends like Anderson Silva, GSP, and Conor McGregor. And yet, when Jake Paul does the unthinkable, he's speechless. The floodgates of doubt, questions, and curiosity are wide open. And there's no going back from this. As the news spread, it wasn't just about Jake Paul anymore. It was about the idea of Jake Paul as a boxer. It made people ask, is Jake Paul, the kid who turned a YouTube channel into a multi-million-dollar empire, actually taking this sport seriously? Was this moment in sparring the real beginning of Jake Paul's true boxing career? Or was it just a freak occurrence that would fade away in a few days? What started as a typical sparring match had turned into a media frenzy, with everyone scrambling to understand how someone like Jake Paul could knock out a heavyweight. The conversation quickly shifted from can Jake Paul really box? To is Jake Paul one of the most underrated fighters in the game right now? And then came the other side of the argument, the doubters. Oh, they weren't just silent, they were louder than ever. Some called the footage staged, others said the heavyweight was underperforming, while others still argued it was a fluke and wouldn't happen again in a real fight. But that didn't matter. The seed had been planted. Jake Paul had shaken up the boxing world, and now the eyes were all on him. His haters, they could keep doubting. But for every fluke comment, there was a new fan born from the mystery surrounding his explosive knockout. And if you think this is where it ends, think again. This is just the beginning of a drama-filled saga that's only going to get wilder as Jake Paul continues to make waves in the boxing world. The only question left is, what's next for Jake Paul after knocking out a heavyweight in sparring? Does he have a real shot at fighting the sport's elite? Or is this all just another chapter in the Jake Paul boxing show? The buzz wasn't just about Jake anymore. It was about the impact he'd had on a sport that's been around for centuries. Could the YouTuber turned boxer actually change the face of the game? The internet was watching. Rogan was still processing, and the boxing world couldn't look away. One thing was clear, Jake Paul had officially arrived, and the conversation was just beginning. The internet was absolutely on fire after Jake Paul's shocking knockout of a heavyweight in sparring. And once that bombshell dropped, there was no turning back. The moment everyone was waiting for came, and the reactions, well, they were even more wild than the knockout itself. Joe Rogan's stunned, wide-eyed reaction wasn't just a throwaway moment. No, it became a defining image. The man who has sat across from UFC legends and boxing titans was speechless when Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer, casually knocked out a heavyweight. And that wasn't all. As Rogan tried to piece his thoughts together live, fans and commentators started to dive into his shock like it was a masterclass in disbelief. The memes were instant. One user posted a meme of Rogan with the caption, "When you realize your UFC champion has nothing on a YouTube boxer with Rogan's signature expression, jaw dropped. Eyes wide, absolutely floored." Another tweet, Jake Paul knocking out a heavyweight is the new definition of live. I have no idea what's going on. The internet was in full-on entertainment mode, taking this already insane event and turning it into content. The drama was almost too good to be true. But let's not forget the hardcore boxing fans who really couldn't stomach this. For some, Jake Paul's continued rise in the boxing world was a slap in the face. How dare a YouTuber step into the ring with the giants of the sport? How could someone with no traditional fight pedigree even get the chance to spar with heavyweights? For them, the fact that Jake Paul had knocked out a heavyweight in sparring felt like the universe was telling them, yeah, maybe your sport isn't as elite as you thought. Memes piled up. But so did the critical think pieces. You couldn't go on Twitter or Reddit without seeing post after post dissecting the significance of this moment. Some people claimed it was a fluke the heavyweight fighter, they argued, had been caught off guard or simply wasn't prepared for Jake's raw aggression. Others, however, couldn't deny it. It was hard to argue against what had actually happened. Jake Paul had knocked out a heavyweight boxer. No excuses, no asterisks. The internet wasn't just making jokes, though. Reactions from high-profile celebrities and fighters started to flood in. A cryptic tweet from Floyd Mayweather sent shockwaves through the online community. It simply read, "That boy is dangerous." Whether he was referring to Jake's actual boxing skills or just his unpredictability in the ring, the ambiguity sent boxing fans spiraling. Was this a subtle endorsement or a veiled threat from one of the sport's biggest names? Either way, it made the entire situation feel even bigger. As if this wasn't just an isolated incident, but a movement. But wait, it didn't stop there. A former heavyweight champion, who shall remain nameless, jumped into the fray with a completely savage response. "I've seen better punches thrown at a clown in a circus." Don't let the hype fool you. Ouch. The fight wasn't just in the ring anymore, it was taking place all over social media. And just when it seemed like the dust might settle, a new development emerged. Rumors started to swirl that Jake had not only knocked out this heavyweight in sparring, but had done it with ease. The claims weren't verified, but they added fuel to the fire. What became undeniable was how much this moment was reshaping the narrative. Jake Paul wasn't just some rich YouTuber who made a spectacle of himself with a few amateur matches. No. He was now a talking point in the very halls of the sports giants. As memes, tweets, and videos piled up, it became clear the entire boxing community was suddenly forced to take Jake seriously. Or at least, they had to acknowledge that he wasn't just a passing phase. Meanwhile, Jake's social media game was on fire. It was like he was a living, breathing meme factory. He posted video clips of himself training harder than ever before, doing everything from hitting pads to sparring with seasoned pros, all while maintaining his typical swagger. His captions, as always, were dripping with cocky confidence. "The haters are gonna hate, but we keep moving. Big wins only. #KO, #next up." He wasn't playing around, and the more the internet argued, the more it felt like Jake was enjoying every second of the spectacle. But here's the kicker. Jake Paul's influence was undeniable. This isn't just a YouTube star anymore. This is a brand, a force. Whether you love him or hate him, he's everywhere. His knockout didn't just shift public opinion about his fighting abilities. It started shifting the entire narrative about his place in the boxing world. Was he really a boxer now? Could Jake Paul legitimately compete with the big leagues? Or was he still the same meme-feed celebrity turned fighter who was just in it for the clout? It didn't matter what the haters said. Jake Paul had proven that he was capable of shocking the world. And suddenly, people who once laughed at the thought of Jake Paul fighting professional boxers were now looking at him with a new kind of respect, or at least an eyebrow raised with uncertainty, as Jake's name was thrown around in boxing circles with more seriousness. a different type of speculation started to build. It wasn't just about the knockout anymore. It was about the implications of what it meant for the sport. People started asking, what does this mean for the future of boxing? How will this moment shake up matchmaking, the credibility of trainers, and the legitimacy of the entire sport? The floodgates were now wide open. But of course, as with all things in the public eye, the question became, was this real? Or was it just another Paul stunt designed to keep everyone guessing? One thing's for sure, the debate wasn't going to end anytime soon. The aftermath of Jake Paul's jaw-dropping knockout wasn't just a few viral posts here and there. Oh no, this thing took off like a rocket, and the shockwaves are still reverberating through the combat sports world. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Jake's latest stunt or viral video. No. This moment marked a major shift in how people viewed him and how they saw the world of boxing itself. Jake had already proven to be a marketing genius, but knocking out a heavyweight in sparring took things to a whole new level. People were left questioning everything. Was this some sort of freak accident? Was it staged? Or did Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned boxer, actually have the chops to hang with the big boys? But the reality? No one could ignore it anymore. Jake Paul wasn't just the YouTube kid who could punch. He was a legitimate force in the boxing world, at least according to the growing number of fans who couldn't deny it anymore. The internet was divided, but one thing was clear. Jake had shifted the conversation. The skeptics and the supporters, what followed was a predictable yet intense clash of opinions. Hardcore boxing fans who had spent years dedicated to the sport refused to let Jake's knockout slide without a fight. This was just sparring, they said. It doesn't count. To them, sparring was no place to crown a real fighter. But here's the thing, sparring is where champions are made. It's where the heavy hitters, the seasoned pros, go toe-to-toe to sharpen their skills. So, for Jake to knock out a heavyweight, even if it was in a training session, meant something even if the critics wanted to downplay it. And then there was the other side, the Jake Paul supporters, who were suddenly the loudest voices in the room. They argued that this wasn't just a fluke. It was a sign of Jake's progress, and anyone who wasn't acknowledging it was simply bitter. To them, this was a coming out moment for Jake, the moment he stepped out of the shadow of YouTube clown and into the limelight of serious boxing. They even started comparing him to real-world champions, whether anyone liked it or not. Social media was flooded with posts, videos, and memes that declared Jake Paul's rise to boxing stardom, often with sarcastic captions like, "Jake Paul, from YouTube pranks to heavyweight knockout, next stop, Mayweather." The internet has no chill, and it became clear that Jake had broken through. He was now part of the narrative. Whether the boxing world wanted him there or not, Joe Rogan, the most surprising reaction. And then there was Joe Rogan. If anyone in the combat sports world is seen as the definitive voice of reason, it's Rogan, the guy who spent years in the octagon, surrounded by the best fighters in the world, was so shocked by Jake's knockout that he could hardly contain his disbelief. For a man who's seen the likes of Conor McGregor, Georgia's St. Pierre, and Khabib Nurmagomedov all compete, this moment was unlike anything he'd ever witnessed. Rogan's reaction wasn't just a few words of surprise. It was a moment of real disbelief. His voice cracked with the kind of shock that made it feel like this wasn't just another viral clip, this was history being made right before our eyes. He didn't just say, "Wow, that was impressive." No, he questioned what this knockout meant. Was it luck? Was it skill? Or was this Jake Paul's evolution into a legitimate contender in the boxing world? Rogan's reaction became the reaction of the moment. His stunned expression was shared across millions of screens, turning his response into the perfect meme fodder. But it also added a layer of legitimacy to the claim. If Rogan, The ultimate combat sports analyst couldn't believe it. Then maybe the rest of the world had underestimated Jake Paul. Rogan didn't just stop there, though. The post-knockout discussions with his guests went on for days. He continued to talk about Jake Paul's training regimen, his increasing fight IQ, and his surprising ability to land clean shots. Rogan's voice acted like an amplifier for the narrative suddenly. People were paying attention to Jake's training in a way they hadn't before. The professional boxing world responds now. Let's talk about how the professionals were handling the situation. Many people in the boxing community dismissed the entire thing as a fluke, but some started to quietly acknowledge that Jake Paul was doing things that were difficult to ignore. He wasn't just training for social media clicks. He was putting in real work. And while many boxers and trainers might roll their eyes at Jake's journey, you couldn't help but notice the awkward respect that began to creep into the conversation. A few prominent figures started backing up Jake's legitimacy, whether they liked it or not. Former world champion fighters began to comment, not just about the knockout, but about Jake's discipline and rising potential. Some of them were shocked by the knockout, but couldn't completely dismiss it. They knew what sparring meant in terms of preparation, and suddenly they had to take Jake's progress seriously. Even guys like Mike Tyson, who had been vocal about his own skepticism regarding Jake's early career, began to give props. "He's serious about this," Tyson said in one of his interviews. "You can't fake power. You can't fake power." But of course, you still had the die-hard purists who were livid. How could Jake, a YouTuber, get this much attention? How could he even be taken seriously in a sport that had been built on generations of fighters who worked their entire lives to reach the top? These fans didn't just disagree with Jake, they were furious. If a YouTuber can knock out a heavyweight, then the sport of boxing has really lost its soul, one commenter wrote. Another said, Jake Paul's rise in boxing is a circus act. If you want real boxing, look somewhere else. For the first time in his career, Jake wasn't just fighting in the ring. He was fighting for legitimacy. Every win was followed by more scrutiny, more judgment, and more doubt. And every time he answered that doubt with another knockout, the conversation started to shift. He wasn't just the guy people liked to hate. He was a legitimate problem for the top dogs of the sport. The rumors, the speculation, and the next step as the weeks went by, the narrative surrounding Jake Paul evolved. No longer was he simply the YouTube boxer. No, now the conversation revolved around him being a serious contender, and the rumors started flying. Was this the beginning of Jake's run to an actual title shot? Was there a bigger plan in place? Was this knockout not just some random moment in sparring, but a calculated move in a much bigger game? Whispers of a fight with a true heavyweight contender started to surface. Some even speculated that Jake might be in line to face someone like Tyson Fury, or even a return match with someone like Deontay Wilder. While these rumors weren't confirmed, the fact that they existed spoke volumes. People weren't just talking about Jake's future anymore, they were investing in it. Boxing promoters, once hesitant to even mention Jake's name in the same sentence as true professionals, started keeping a close eye on his progression. Whether they liked him or not, Jake had managed to accomplish what most would have called impossible. He turned the entire conversation on its head. From memes and mockery to respect and possibility. Jake Paul had proved that in combat sports, anything could happen. Okay, you've seen the knockout. You've heard the reactions, and now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jake Paul is actually the real deal, or was this just a lucky shot? Is Jake Paul about to dominate the boxing world, or is he just playing the game? Don't hold back, because I'm reading every comment, and let's be real. This debate is just heating up. Smash that like button like it owes you money. Hitting like isn't just support. It's a declaration that you're here for the wildest takes. The most ridiculous drama, and the kind of stories that make the world of combat sports a lot more entertaining. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on those notifications. Because around here, we don't wait for the news to break, we bring it to you. Drama doesn't slow down, so neither do we. This is just the beginning. The next fight, the next knockout, the next jaw-dropping moment. You won't want to miss it, and you sure as hell won't find it anywhere else. Stay locked in, stay messy, and stay ready, because Punch Press is always here to bring you the truth behind the chaos.